Hello, my name is Evan Bean. I'm an assistant professor in ag and bioengineering at University of Florida. And today we are on site here at a Culver's restaurant down on Gulf to Bay and the intersection with Hercules. This is an example of an LID or green infrastructure installation. Normally we'd love to have you out here so that you can see it firsthand, but given our circumstances in the current times, we're going to give you sort of a virtual tour here. So with this site, the way that they have gone about redeveloping this site and managing the stormwater is that they have, instead of digging a pond, they have basically installed underground retention. These are essentially half pipes that are empty and have a lot of volume that allows water to fill up and then slowly soak into the ground. So let's take a look at sort of how this site's laid out. Number one, all of the parking areas, rooftops, and everything basically drains into 4 of these drop inlets in the corners of the development here. These drop inlets then tie into just beyond where this drive path is. Below that is the gallery of the half pipes, the ADS, the exfiltration site. Essentially, water comes into these drop inlets, fills up, flows into the gallery, and that's where our initial stormwater is captured and retained. Further down the site, there is an overflow. Essentially what happens is if the gallery fills up to a certain level, it will then overflow or pop off into a junction box that then outputs on into the drainage that is on Gulf to Bay. All right, so if the entire site was to fail, we had a massive 100-year storm event, something like that. If the inlets filled up, then they would basically overflow down to the lowest point down there for the emergency bypass. The consideration for stormwater management on this particular site had to come in early on in the site development process. There's going to be requirements in every municipality for parking requirements. And if you're going to be putting your stormwater subsurface, that provides an added advantage to have more parking spots. In this case, they would have lost a significant number of these parking spots. It would have been an eyesore. So they were able to manage the requirement for stormwater management on this site with the redevelopment to be able to put it all underground here to still maintain a lot of their parking. So if you're considering, if you can see if you can visualize sort of below the land surface here, we've got, your typical pavement profile with subbase and so forth. Down below that is sort of the gallery that is filled in with some stone or sand that basically provides that structural support for the typical pavement structure above it. Down below that is sort of a bed of rock with the ADS or the half pipe systems built on top of it. This is basically the maintenance access ports for each of the lines of the infiltration gallery. We have 5 right here, and there's another batch of them on the other side behind our filmer here. Where basically you can get down, access, and do a couple of things. This is where sort of the operation and maintenance comes into play. Brought a screwdriver with me. This is a metal, basically cast iron cap. We'll lift it up. And essentially what we have is we've got a cap that basically insets down to the top of a PVC pipe about 1 foot. And then it goes all the way down to the infiltration gallery. And so each one of these is set up to basically access each one of those lines. The option here is that, number one, you can access this to be able to look at the water levels in here to make sure that they are recovering within the design or intended period of volume recovery. That can kind of happen in 24, 48, 72 hours, depending on whatever the requirements are for the site. And then the other aspect is there's not any pre-treatment here to capture sediments or other debris before it goes into the storm drains. That's a really important consideration here because once it gets into this infiltration gallery, that material is going to stay there until we come back in and somehow remove it. How that typically occurs is that we'll bring in a vacuum truck run a line down here and suck that out to try to remove that material, so that any caking that has occurred on that infiltrating surface, we're able to remove and restore that infiltration function and the recovery rate of the water that's under the ground here. All right. Again, Evan Bean, UF IFAS, here at McDonald's in Pinellas County at the intersection of 38th North and 4th Street North. Another example where green infrastructure has been integrated into the site development, or I should say redevelopment of a site. This is again a McDonald's restaurant drive-through, typical McDonald's implementation. One of the other aspects to consider with green infrastructure is the green aspect, the vegetation. You need to be considerate of the proper vegetation that can survive the different types of wetting and drying conditions and the different periods of wetting and drying that occur. To talk a little bit more about that, specifically for this site, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Robinson.
Hello, I'm Steve Robinson. I'm the commercial agent for Pinellas County Extension Service, and I'm following up on what Evan was talking about earlier. I'm standing at the bottom of this bioswale pond system, and you'll see that we have some native plants. Right behind the camera, we have a live oak tree that overshadows the whole area. Towards the bottom of this facility, we have Dahoon holly. There's actually 5 of them here. These would be able to stand standing water for 3 days, up to maybe even 4 days without having any stress. We have Simpson stopper behind us, which is not real flood tolerant, but it's sitting up on the edge and it should stay dry or get dry pretty quickly. Keep in mind, we also have river gravel here to help slow down the water flow and control erosion. But as we get into the more landscape picture here, what we see a lot of is pine chips, pine nuggets, and particularly during real dry periods when it's not raining, and these have become almost hydrophobic, they'll float really, really quickly. And they'll carry up over the skimmer in this project here and actually clog up the grate, the top of the control structure. We'll take some looks at that. What this really bears in mind is the fact that we have to do some maintenance out here. This has been mulched and probably remulched, and we may have 6 inches of mulch here and probably lost some capacity. And in the same token, it's also probably obstructing flow, and this is probably discharging to the municipal stormwater system as well. So part of this is also a maintenance issue we need to look at.
All right, hello again, Evan Bean, UF IFAS. We are here at the St. Petersburg Water Resources Department site. This is a much larger site than the last 2 that we've taken a look at. And this is sort of more of a public works facility, a little bit different land use. To talk a little bit about this site, I'm going to turn it over to our friend Chris Claus, who's with the St. Petersburg Water Resources Department. Take it away, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Claus. I am Water Conservation Coordinator for the City of St. Petersburg. And right now we're standing at our Water Resources Department Administration building. This is a LEED certified project that was built in 2009-2010. Our move-in date was in January 2010. And as a LEED certification and as part of the city's sustainability efforts, we wanted to incorporate as much environmental conservation and environmental protection and planting for wildlife, of course, into our design. So as part of the planning, we knew we wanted to retain stormwater on site. We wanted to collect water for flushing indoors. So part of our stormwater system starts with what comes off the roof, goes into downspouts underneath the sidewalks, and is put into a 4,000-gallon cistern. That cistern water is used for the urinals and the toilets inside the building, which is a administration building, so it's widely used. And then any overflow from the cistern goes into the stormwater conveyance system that we have, which includes bioswale that's very large, very long, I should say. And also we have swales that are built to capture the stormwater running off of the parking lot. It's pretty large, and we wanted to set an example for St. Petersburg. This is one of several sites that are LEED certified. The city is making a lot of plans for more initiatives that have certifications such as LEED, Envision, and others.
So as Chris kind of talked about, there's quite a bit going on here, and this is kind of an older site. So we get a chance to see how green infrastructure can grow and develop over time.
My name's Steve Robinson with the Pinellas County Extension Service, and we are down in St. Petersburg today, and we are at the St. Petersburg Water Resources Department building facility compound, and they have interacted here with the landscape, and they've put in what's called a low impact development stormwater system. As part of this system, they've implemented native trees to help to evapotranspirate the water, control erosion, and provide some shade for the cars, because it can get very, very hot out here on this concrete patio and the slab of the parking facility. So what we have for our native trees here is we have bald cypress, we have pond cypress, and you'll notice they're kind of yellow or golden right now. We're already into the early fall season, so they're beginning to lose the dominance of that green chlorophyll. We also have sweet gums here, which some people can mistake for red maples. We have Dahoon hollies, and again, a lot of cypress to wrap around this place. So we've got about 5 different species of either evergreen or deciduous trees. Each of them are going to drop their leaves throughout the year at some time, and this does provide some natural mulch for these areas. And we have, with all the shade we have too, there's very little weed cover, very little bit of weed pressure in here, so it's kind of taking care of itself.
Some nice sites where the cistern here is taking some of the storm water and the condensation and putting that back in and having it be reused into the toilets and the water and the water resources inside. Kind of an integrated water cycle with this site. Really fascinating. One of the other things here is that this is again kind of using at a large scale, kind of maximizing the green space here for its functionality. So we see sort of the perimeter swale system, and then the traffic islands that are functioning really, instead of like mounds that shift water away from it, they're receiving the water and allowing water to soak into the ground. There's also some places where we've seen that some effects of high water table, where maybe that wasn't considered as much as it maybe should have been, or understanding sort of the long-term effects of it. When we have a long term of water infiltrating in one spot, the close distance to that water table, eventually it's going to start to build up and raise that water table up to the surface. And we're going to get some long-term effects, the legacy, if you will, of the site design and the site operation. So we really appreciate that we've been able to bring you along to all of these sites, show them to you, and we hope that you've gotten a lot out of it. These sites are here in Pinellas County, so feel free to go and visit them on your own, inspect them on your own, and find out more about those sites and how you can integrate green infrastructure into your next projects.